What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these beautiful, delicious, smoky, crunchy, crispy, amazing smoked and fried chicken wings. Coming up. These are some chicken wings. Pat them dry. And what I got here is just some average run-of-the-mill chicken wings. Nothing too fancy going on here. But you will notice that I got the ones that are still connected, and that's for a few different reasons. One, it's super quick and easy to break these apart. And two, they're often a lot cheaper than the ones that are already cut up like this for you. Next time you're at the grocery store, look at the difference between whole wings versus cut up wings. And you'll notice that these are a lot cheaper because someone has to cut these apart, and that person needs to get paid. So you might as well do it yourself. It's also nice because you could leave these whole, throw them on the grill that way. You could also leave the wingtips on if that's your thing. I usually don't, but I do like keeping them around though, because whenever it comes time to make some stock or some demi-glace or something, these are absolutely perfect for it. But to break these down is super simple. Just get yourself a nice, somewhat heavy-duty knife. Highly recommend this one. Been loving this thing. But any chef's knife or cleaver or something will work, and you just simply aim for the joint and just go right through. You're just cutting through a little bit of cartilage. There should be no bone in there, so very easy stuff. Same on the wingtip. And not gonna lie, I kind of like doing this. It's fun. Oftentimes I'll buy one of those big, like 10, 20-pound bags of chicken wings and just rip through them all real quick, vac seal them up, and there you go. Beautiful. And as far as seasoning these up go, you can do obviously whatever you want, any sort of seasoned salt or any rub you've got. But in the past when I've done this, I've thrown chud rub on there, and because it's going into some really hot oil at the end of the day, the rub can really darken up the wings, and some of those spices tend to burn in the oil, so I like to keep it super simple. I've done it just completely naked before and it works well, but because I'm here, I'm just gonna hit these with a little bit of some kosher salt. But it's also really dependent on what kind of sauce you're gonna be using, because if you're gonna be using a really flavorful, spicy, or sweet sauce, a lot of times that carries enough seasoning for the chicken itself. You know, whenever I'm making just regular fried chicken wings, I never season them ahead of time. So today I'm gonna do it just for good measure, help dry these out a little bit, because right now it's time to fire up the pit. And on the pit we go. I'm keeping them on this wire rack just to make sure everything stays nice and clean. If I did a better job taking care of this smoker, I probably wouldn't have to do that. But either way, I'm gonna rock this pit around 275, 250, somewhere in that region. It really depends on how smoky you want these things to actually be. But you gotta be careful because chicken is pretty much a blank canvas, so they can take a lot of smoke flavor really quick. So if you want a super smoky wing, go down to 220. If you want a less smoky wing, you can go upward of 325 or something like that. But for me, again, around 275, 250. And we're just gonna cook these things through. We'll check back in a little bit. This video is brought to you by ZBiotics. ZBiotics is a pre-alcohol probiotic that was genetically engineered to drink before consuming alcohol to avoid that rough next morning and get back to living your life. Invented by PhD scientists who know that the real problem is not dehydration, but a toxic byproduct of consuming alcohol called acetaldehyde. ZBiotics is the only product that breaks down this toxic byproduct in a very similar way to what your liver does, except ZBiotics works in your gut where it's needed the most. And with a big game coming up, I plan to not only enjoy just some delicious crispy chicken wings, but also a few crispy beers. But I don't want Monday to roll around and start my week off feeling groggy and tired and all the other negative side effects of drinking the night before. And I gotta say, this stuff really works. Every time I drink it, I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to face the day. It's just a small little bottle. You just throw this back, have a fun night out, and then the next morning I can get right back to shooting videos and editing videos and all the other things I have to do. So if you plan on throwing back a few beers this weekend or just enjoying a nice bourbon and want to wake up feeling refreshed and ready to tackle the day, head to zbiotics.com and use code chudsbbq to get 15% off your first order. Again, you can scan the QR code on this video or click the link in the description box of this video taking you to zbiotics.com where you can use code chudsbbq to get 15% off your first order. I highly recommend it. And just like that, about an hour later, these wings are done and looking absolutely beautiful. Got some really nice color on there, nice and smoky, cooked through. These are all reading right around 170, 180. Definitely got some good smoke color on there, which will add some good flavor. And at this point, you could do pretty much whatever you want to do. You know, you could easily just pop these right into the fryer, crisp them up, finish them off that way. Or you could chill them and then flash fry them to reheat them whenever you want to serve some wings. And that's kind of the whole reason this recipe exists, is it's not really aimed for the back backyard cook. It's more for meal preppers or restaurants. Because at this point they're fully cooked and we have no concerns about serving undercooked chicken to anybody. But at the same time, these took an hour to cook, which means you really can't cook these to order. And even if you're just frying them the traditional way, they're gonna take at least 20 minutes, which makes it really difficult for a restaurant. So having these pre-cooked, then you can chill them and throw them in. Just to heat through and crisp up takes probably about 5 minutes, really makes life super convenient. And especially with that big game coming up. If you were gonna fill up your smoker with a whole bunch of wings and then just have them ready to go and drop them into hot oil, that's when it makes a lot of sense. Speaking of restaurants, if you wanna come hang out with me and the whole gang from Leroy and Lewis, New School Barbecue, the barbecue class taught by Leroy and Lewis at Leroy and Lewis, is back in session. And if you're watching this in real time, there are still seats available. It's a 3-day class starting on Friday night with a meet and greet all day Saturday, and then Sunday where we go over everything from trimming beef cheeks, ribs, going through the entire brisket cook, sausage making, and everything else Leroy and Lewis does fantastically. But then on Sunday we're gonna go to the Chud shop and I'm gonna walk through all my welding setup and all the smokers I'm building. And we've got some very special guest pitmasters to come tell their stories as well. So 2 classes coming up, one at the end of February, the 17th through the 19th, and then one again at the beginning of March, the 3rd through the 5th. So if you wanna come hang out and cook some great food together, contact Leroy and Lewis on Instagram or through their email or through their website and get signed up. As far as frying off these wings, we're gonna try 4 different techniques today. 1, good old trusty wondra flour, my favorite chicken wing flour. 2, some good old-fashioned potato starch. And number 3, we're gonna make a very thin batter, kind of like what they do for Korean fried chicken, starting with 1 cup of some all-purpose flour, about 3 tablespoons of some cornstarch, and 1 can of some sparkling water. Oh yeah. So to start out, I've got these 3 that we're gonna just set aside that we're gonna fry just completely as is, totally nude. I've got this batch coming right off the pit while they're still hot, going right into the wondra flour. This batch is going into potato starch, and the ones for the batter are being chilled in the fridge. So I'm just gonna get these nice and coated. All right, folks, we got our deep fryer fired up to about 350, 365, and it's time to go in with all of our wings, starting with the naked wings, ooh, and the wondra flour wings. Oh. Wow. And after just about 5 minutes, these guys are all looking nice and golden, nice and crispy, so out they come. And after a dip in our tempura batter, in we go with those. Oh yeah, nice and thin batter. Should crisp up nice. Beautiful. And while we're at it, we'll throw in the potato starch. Oh God, potato starch batch as well. And yet again, about 5 minutes in, these are looking nice and golden, nice and crispy, and ooh, I'm getting hungry. I tell you what. All right, folks, and here they are in all of their glory. 4 different styles of smoked and fried wings. Starting on this side, we've got the naked wings looking pretty good. Then we got the wondra flour, the potato starch. Thank you, Joshua Johnston, for buying some stickers. Anywho, over here we've got the beautiful batter fried chicken wings. And I must say, they all look pretty good. Got that nice golden brown, not too dark, nothing too weird to look at. Naked ones, really not much to complain about there. They are a little bit, I don't know, harder than some of the other ones because they don't have any flake or crust to them, as opposed to the wondra flour wings, which look very similar, but they've just got that little bit of laciness on the edges. Beautiful golden brown on there, though. Potato starch ones are probably the ugliest, because that potato starch doesn't brown because there's no gluten, but you know, we'll have to see in the taste test how they came out. Also, the problem with a lot of these batters is that it doesn't stick very well. There's no potato starch on that side because it all kind of fell off because the wings were already cooked, so it's hard to stick to a dry surface. And then of course on the end you've got these bad Larrys, which I think are pretty promising. Definitely got that nice thin shattery crust on there, just ooh, sounding real nice. But again, the only problem is, on some of them, if you're too rough in the fry later, the whole crust can fall off, as it did on this one. That's just pure skin. But I don't know, maybe with a little tweaking, we can make it stick a little bit better. But without further ado, I'm gonna sauce these up and we're gonna dive on in. All right, y'all, I can't wait any longer. I think it's time to see how these came out. Starting with this guy, little naked, smoked and fried. We'll just do a bite before we dip into the blue cheese, shall we? Smoky, buffalo-y. Not really all that crispy, but it still has that bite through skin. Pretty good, pretty good. Solid wing. It's kind of weird, like this smoky flavor almost reminds me of ham or bacon or something as opposed to barbecue, but still tastes good. Now we'll go for one of these wondra flour fried wings, shall we? Similar, very similar flavor profile. I wonder why. The difference is very subtle. It's mostly on those little craggly ends that you get a little bit more texture, but comparing the two, like I wouldn't run out and buy some Wonder Flour just to make the small difference that there is. It's definitely more reminiscent of a fried wing, like a traditionally fried wing. Solid stuff. Next up, let's try out the old potato starch. Looking quite nice, honestly. The whiteness from that potato starch brings out the orange of the buffalo sauce. Definitely good. Again, the nuances are very subtle. Pretty tasty. And lastly, we'll go for the old Korean fried, batter fried chicken wing, shall we? Oh, that's much different. Very tasty stuff. When it comes to the batter fried, it's incredibly light and crispy, although even when you're tossing it, you're gonna lose even more of that batter because it just wants to flake off because it's not really adhered all that well. But it's like there's a crispy thin layer of donut surrounding your chicken wing. But it's not soggy and it's not heavy. I think it's a very pleasant bite. Would it be my everyday chicken wing? Probably not, but for a special occasion or a here and there, I think that's very good. It also soaks up that sauce a lot better. That's phenomenal. Definitely the juiciest of all of these. I think it's probably because it held onto a little more oil, held onto a little more sauce. But yeah, tasty stuff. Highly recommend it. Gotta love buffalo wings. Well, I was just gonna say we could figure out which one is my favorite by which one I go back to first, but I just inadvertently ate two of this pile. Probably because it's the most different than a traditional grilled or fried wing, you know, having that extra layer of crispiness on the outside. These are all very comparable. I think the main difference, like this is a potato starch one, you can see it clings onto the sauce a little bit better, but really, these three, no major yes or no between them all. Well, since I'm holding this guy, I might as well take a bite, am I right? Whip, whip, dip, dip. So will I be making any of these again is a question I'm pondering at the moment, and I do want to experiment with this batter. I think with some mild tweaking to make it adhere a little bit better, this could be a very solid option. And honestly, it's pretty surprising the lack of difference between these three. But again, the flour and the potato starch definitely hold on to more sauce, so if that's something you're into, these are definitely worth giving a try. But really at the end of the day, when it comes to chicken wings, there's no better way to cook a chicken wing than in the deep fryer. I've got two different videos on how I like to fry wings, two different methods that work incredibly well. If you don't have a deep fryer, I would say smoked wings would be my second. I've got a video about that as well, just hot and fast, crispy skin, smoky wings. Very tasty stuff. If you don't have a smoker, I'd say just straight up grilled wings, throw them on the Weber Kettle. Really great option. And then finally at the bottom, I would say smoke and then fry your wings if you are a home cook. But again, this recipe is not really designed for us. It's more designed for restaurants. And I'm splitting hairs here because all of these are still absolutely fantastic. I just love chicken wings. So many ways to do it. But all that being said, I think it is time for the official taste test. Get those bones out of there. Gotta love a good boneless flat. All right, y'all, that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic smoky fried chicken wings. Again, I think there is a time and a place for this recipe. And with a big game coming up this weekend, I highly recommend giving this technique a try because it really is a great way to feed a crowd. But if you do plan on cooking up a whole bunch of chicken wings and you decide to give some of these techniques a try, please let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what y'all think and which technique or which recipe is your favorite. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.